Hey, sup guys? Happy music review time, reacting to stuff and talking about it. We got Quadeca on deck. We're listening to Scrapyard, the 2024 mixtape that he put out a few weeks ago. This was my first interaction with Quadeca. I've heard about him for a long time, but after being so obsessed with the other albums that Dead Air put out, the Jan Ruver album, the Quanic record, I knew I had to dive into Quadeca at some point, because if they see something in Quadeca, then I'm gonna see something in Quadeca at this point. I have that much faith in this record label. So listen to it on stream. You know how it is. Streaming every Saturday at 12 o'clock Eastern. Be there. It's a lot of fun. And we will listen to it on stream. I got a little review prepared. Let's check it out, and then I'll show you some clips from that stream, and you can get a taste of how much fun we have live every week. It's a blast. It's free content. It's a blast. Whoa! Hey, where are you going there, bucko? Before you head on, maybe hit a little like on that button. Got the latest from Quadeca here, Scrapyard, which is apparently a very fitting name, because according to this comment, this is more of a collection of EPs and random songs than a proper album, which makes sense after listening to the mixtape, which feels disjointed and unrelatable, or unrelated as a whole. But at the same time, these songs feel like in some way they belong to each other. Like they all belong in the head of an actual person with the imperfections and the sort of mood swings that come along with it. Like it's somebody that feels like they're king of the world one day and then feeling worthless the day after that. Who doesn't relate to that? If I were to define this album in some little cute collection of words that made people go, that's pretty true, I would probably say this reminds me of one of my high school notebooks that I would doodle in instead of taking notes. It's filled with random ideas and sketches, but also filled with kind of cringy attempts to make deeper statements. Please don't take this as a negative. I promise it's not. There's just, in my opinion, there's not like a better way to sugarcoat it than just to call it like it is. Some of the lines in here are kind of cringy. An early highlight of the album for me was A La Carte, a track featuring Breakins, who, side note, is long overdue for a reaction on this channel. I promise I will get to him on an upcoming stream. Anyways, A La Carte, the lyrics are they're notebook doodles. They're words that you put together and you think, whoa, that's so deep at the time. And then 20 years later, you dig up that notebook and you think, what was I thinking when I wrote this? It's just, it's a little juvenile. But that's the beauty of the record. It has these songs that are locked into that time of your life where you're way too vulnerable. You wear your heart on your sleeve way too much. And as a result, you say things that if you're a little older, you know, your stupid adult brain would filter it out. It would stop you from saying it in the first place. The album reminded me of what it was like to be young again. And when I felt those feelings that were so fucking strong that there's no choice but to say some stupid metaphor to try and get it across. Track 13, You Tried That Thing Where You're Human, is the obvious peak of this vulnerability, with Quadeca almost crying into the microphone, repeating, "It's time to give up on being human." It reminded me of a car seat headrest in a way, with the vocal manipulations and the slowly growing instrumentation in the background. That's not to say this whole album is just a collection of awkward adolescent one-liners. Like I said, the music is disjointed and inconsistent, so plenty of tracks on here have a lot more to offer. Like my favorite song on the album, What's It To Him? It has a fantastic suite of instrumentation and blown out production, which I love. And I swear to God, I hear Beach Boys inspiration on here. Now, since writing this review and doing this reaction, like I said, I've gone back and listened to I Didn't Mean to Haunt You. And I also noticed those sort of Brian Wilson croons in the background at points on there too. So it's really cool to hear that this is sort of a long-staying tradition with Quadeca's music. That's been a long-running influence. I don't know if it's directly Beach Boys or that sort of Baroque pop inspiration, but it definitely makes the connection in my brain, and it's really cool hearing that in a hip-hop setting. You don't hear Baroque pop in hip-hop very much, and I wish you would, because it fits so well in this song. The sound appears a few times on this album as well in other places, such as Pretty Privilege. It sounds like Brian Wilson crooning in the background at parts, which was such a pleasant surprise to hear. And yeah, just keep going with this, Quadeca. It's such a great direction to take this music, I think. The following track, You Don't Know Me Like That, is another highlight and showcases Dead Air's real power as a collaborative label. The song, it sounds like a Dane Remover track with like a cheap Fisher Price drum set and an auto-tuned rap. So it at the end of it, it feels like if Jane Remover had made a rap song and put it on this album. And it's just so cool how collaborative and how much cross-pollination there is between these artists. Look, there's a reason that there's so much buzz around Dead Air in general. There's a reason that Quanek and Jane Remover were some of the most successful reactions that I put on my channel. The artists on the label share similar visions of what they want their music to sound like, because they all have similarly depressing and muddy views of the world that I think connects to their passionate fan base really well. But importantly, according to another comment that I got, thanks by the way for all the comments, I love reading through all of them, Dead Air does not impose any limitations or expectations on the artists that they sign. What we're hearing here is the truly unfiltered and uncontrolled thoughts of Quadeca. It's not a scrapyard, it's a scrapbook. And I'm glad that they chose to release it like this. There's got to be a lot of pressure on Quadeca after releasing a beloved project like I Didn't Mean to Haunt You. And the fact that with that assumed pressure, Quadeca released such a vulnerable and varied collection of songs speaks to how important this creative freedom is to him. Not everything here clicked with me, but I'd rather have this than one EP of distilled and perfected songs that completely lost their edge in the process. Here's to hoping that Quadeca doesn't grow old anytime soon. So that's the review. I really liked this, and I really liked going from this album back to I Didn't Mean to Haunt You. I think it was a really cool way of seeing how Quadeca is trying to separate himself from the shadow of that project, but looking at it sort of going back in time. So once I've listened to both of them, and I'll probably talk about this more in my I Didn't Mean to Haunt You review, which will be coming. My schedule's crazy right now. Hopefully like next week. I think he has the perfect headspace as somebody that put out an absolutely phenomenal album. It doesn't seem like his ego has gotten too big from it. It also doesn't seem like he's rushing to make I Didn't Mean to Haunt You 2, and he put this album as sort of a buffer between that and any future projects in a really interesting way. I have a lot of respect for him after listening to these two albums. Hey, if you're listening to this before February 29th, I am going to be live streaming at 6 o'clock Eastern with the band Patchwork. I put an announcement on my channel, and I also mentioned it on the stream on Saturday. But if you're watching this, if you like industrial music, new underground experimental noise, just a bunch of the shoegaze, a ton of really cool influences in there. Check out Patchwork, and they're putting out a new album, self-titled, on the 29th. I'll be listening to it live with the band. Thanks, guys. Here are some clips from the stream. Hope you like it. Hope you have a good day. Hope you live forever. Hope you make $1 million. Hope I make $1 million too. That'd be sick. Yeah, this is pretty much exactly what I was hoping for right off the bat. I was really just knowing the record label this is coming from and sort of my past understanding of what Quadeca has been putting out. I was kind of hoping for that Jane Remover quonic sound, but with a more maybe hip hop lens, seeing sort of how these elements of production and that auto tune that very similar to some of the stuff that was in the Jane Remover songs. Hearing that in more of a hip hop sort of trap focal point lens, through that lens, I guess, is really cool. It shows how much potential this hyper rock genre sound has. In pulling different genres and influences in, or layering itself over established genres, because like we had that pretty creative sampling use, the hey sound going over and over, creating sort of a nostalgic club backdrop, but then it goes away. It feels like you're sort of driving away from a club at the end of the night. It's starting on a really vulnerable note too. This doesn't feel like someone pumping out their chest. It feels frustrated and sad. So I'm wondering if that's just going to be a theme throughout the album, if this is going to have its own storyline, if this is an album that starts with Quadeca as at a really low place. Featuring break-ins.
My favorite poem was the one I read to you, for the teleprompter on the tongue of my shoe. Take it all down, take me all apart. You can have my tongue, just promise you'll take it all apart. Take it all, just don't take it all to heart. My tongue, just promise you'll take it all apart. Take it all, just don't take it all to heart. They got eternal life, so they got many times what I couldn't count. Cause it gets so deep, it goes so deep, I'll never know you. I don't usually care for the doom in the air, but it's feeling kinda overdue, yeah. My favorite poem's what I couldn't say to you. Hesitant salute. Take it all down, take me all apart. You can have my tongue if you take it all apart. Take it, and what I never knew. I'd rather be inside my head than you.
Why do I feel so unsafe? What am I worried about? Cause I didn't see any proof. Skip the winter season like it's pay-per-view. Inside my head with you. Freaked out, tryna fuck you right. I know you're never great looks, still feel like a fight. But you are the same, you can hear me now. It took it so deep and it goes so deep now that I'm hearing it down.
My favorite poem was the one I read to you. Take it all, just don't take it all to heart.
There's so much about this. There's a lot to unpack here. Am I crazy for thinking I hear NSYNC in here? Because of all of the elements the emo, the hip hop, the like sort of cringy, vulnerable lyrics, the dueling vocals between Break-Ins and Quadeca. The thing that sort of rose to the top to me with those like little like 2000s electronic blips, the synth line, it sounded like a space station sort of thing. I just got the feeling that it was like in sync, like a boy band song at the heart of all of this. It's like the core of all of this is like a nostalgic boy band track, and then covering it in like layers are all of these different sounds, and so you can barely make it out anymore, but you hear that little like synth line, and you realize that like all this is at its very core is just somebody like recreating the music of their childhood, and you know these in sync like the power, like it feels like it's like music that you can dance to on a stage, you know. You could have my heart if you take it a la carte. You know, I could see them like doing the strings attached tour. I like the hook of it too. You can take my tongue if you take it a la carte. It's the sort of thing that like you would write down in your notebook in high school, you know, when you're just like, you're so angsty and, you know, cringy. it's a sort of objectively cringy line, you know, you're really wearing your heart on your sleeve there when you're recording those words. So but like that's not a bad thing. It's like, you know, it's really, I feel like it's liberating to know that other people have those thoughts and emotions, even if it's something like 10 years down the line I would look back and be like, ooh. It's still good to hear those songs and important. So
What did you say I was pretty? I wouldn't want to be seen. If cause when you said I was pretty, do you notice I know I did my hair with a twist just for you? Love by you, look at me like you just noticed something. Sucking in my stomach just to hug you like you want me to. All I could ask you is why. Do you notice I'm new? I did my hair with a twist just for you.
wow, that's super cool. I love that. Yes. Yeah, that was amazing. Ah, that was so cool. Yeah, this is exactly what I was hoping for going into this. So, Dead Air as a record label strikes me as such a collaborative effort. Everybody that's involved with this, it feels like they're all helping each other, and so there's so much cross pollution between the music that it's very much like, it's sort of unlike any other record label right now, where if a record comes out on Dead Air, you sort of know exactly what elements are going to come from it. And I was thinking about this earlier with the rise of this hyper rock genre and Dead Air sort of being at the front of it. They're positioned to be in a place in music similar to where Dinosaur Jr. was in the 80s, with bringing back electric guitar and rock elements into indie rock, into all these different genres, into hyperpop, and showing how much influence those sounds can have on those music, on that music. So like hearing this one and hearing that transition, it felt like something that could have fit on a Jane Remover album for a lot of it. And so like hearing those hip hop elements being pulled into it is so cool. And the transition with all of those, I want to hear it again. Yeah, I mean, these guys are just working at another level right now. This entire record label is seeing the entire system. They see where the lines are blurred and where genres can be pulled in. I'm so happy that these guys are out there making music like this. It shows how much potential there is with like lo-fi hip hop, mumble rap, emo rap, how far it can go, and these guys are fully embracing those crazy creative ideas. So yeah, I'm here for this journey that they're on. I'm so glad. They see the strings, man. I'm telling you.
You'll see just what it took to find you. True with the multicolored meaning. I like to hide a little less. I like to cry a little more, but just to make sure. And what she told is a light in a room with the multicolored ceiling is a white on the shoes with the multicolored pieces. It's like really true with the multicolored meaning.
It feels like Beach Boys were such a like heavy influence on this record. It's so surprising. Like you hear those sighs in the background. It sounds like Brian Wilson. And it's not the first time that I've heard that on this record. So it's so cool. That was incredible. I think I need to like give a term to this sound that's crossing over between all these Dead Air records. I feel like it's like the Dead Air crunch. Like there's so many modern music record labels that are trying to make their music sound more and more polished, but Dead Air Records, Quadeca, Jane Remover, their music is comfortable being played through like blown out speakers or like really old headphones that you can barely hear anything out of anymore. So much of the music is like blown out and overproduced and crunched, and it's like a JPEG that's gone through 8 different copies and pastes. So like that sound, the song had so much volume behind it, so much crunch, and it like scratches the itch for me perfectly every time. But then hearing like the harmonies and like it's like Brian Wilson himself was in the background of that song. It just like elevates everything. It's such a cool combination of sounds, so much creativity on display.
I held you still, but you know you like that.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. It's relatable music, and like there have been a few parts of this album that like the lyrics that were written were kind of cringy, kind of like that stuff that you would write in your notebook when you were like 14 and like angsty in high school, stuff that like I would have written. So it's very relatable. It's like a la carte. I felt like there's you could take my tongue, but just take it a la carte. That like relatable level of angst and vulnerability. So like it converts both through the music and through the words that are written. It all works together as this like very relatable, down to earth package. It sounds exactly like a Jane Rupert.
I took it out of my system, I'm feeling still ashamed. I let them know the piece was great. You feel like it's a stage. Don't feel happy, you. Talking all night, I held you still. But you don't know me like that, and you never will. Stop. Make out what you do. Try to stop running in a hole. Don't you do that? I've seen it all. Still, but you know you like that, and you never will. Stop.
Yo, it's like a dance party at the end. Oh. God, I wish that ending was longer. What the hell? That last like 10 seconds was a fucking jam, dude. That was great. That's like what I'm talking about with Dead Air though. Like, it sounded so similar to something off of Census Designated with the way that they have that auto tune going like over the music. But then it was still like a hip hop song. It still had like pop sensibilities in there. So it was like hearing a Jane Remover song if it was hip hop, if it was like rap. That's so much of Dead Air's music where they have so much collaboration and like inspiration from the other artists on the album. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the next time that Jane Remover puts out an album, there are elements of Quadeca on here. They're like really creative sampling and beats and like those like crazy change ups at the end there. It still has Quadeca's DNA. It's still clearly a Quadeca album, but it's awesome hearing the collaboration and inspiration from the different label mates. This is why I feel like if you're not listening to Dead Air, if you're not listening to all the records that they're putting out, you're really missing out on just a really creative, modern record label and all these modern records. Yes. Yeah, that was amazing.